Hey guys! So, today we're going to talk a little bit about, or rather, let's elaborate a little bit on a video that I made quite a while ago, where I state kind of from my perspective what are probably very good languages to invest in and what are future languages, if you will. So let's get into it. You see, something that a lot of people ask me is this thing such as, oh, Fredrik, you're saying that Java is a future language, but what about Python, C++, and all these other languages? Why aren't they on your list? And why aren't you talking about these languages as being like future-proof, future languages? Well, it's actually very simple. You see, when it comes to a language popularity, there is a lot of factors that play into it. One aspect of the popularity of a language has to do with culture, for example. In other words, what type of community is gathered around the language in question. Take JavaScript, for example. Now, JavaScript has the largest community in the world, and therefore its popularity is all but guaranteed. Java is also a very similar situation, but languages such as Haskell, which has a very small community and a small niched community, well, is that something that makes it popular? Yes, no. Is it a future language? Is it going to go away? No. None of these things are things that I am stating when I say that something is future-proof or has a lot of potential to be future-proof. You see, when we talk about popularity, adoption rates, being future-proof or being a good investment when it comes in terms of a language, you have to kind of ask the question, in what field? Take Python, like that question. There was a subscriber asked, okay, well, how do you feel about Python? And machine learning is getting so popular. Isn't this a future language? Well, yes, if you want to spend your time with machine learning. But you can also take the perspective, what is Python doing? About, like, what's Python's big claim to machine learning? Machine learning is just a field of study, a field of programming. Anything can be done. Like in fact, you can do machine learning with JavaScript if you wanted to. I wouldn't say that you should, but you can. It just so happens that Python, due to its community and its legacy so far, is very good, or very good choice for that sort of programming. But there's nothing stopping you from doing, like using TensorFlow or something of that nature, doing something with, like we do machine learning at my job with Spark, which is, in this case, it's in Scala. There's nothing stopping you from that. But the community around Python and machine learning in that field of study is very popular. So that's something that I rule out when I think about these things. And the reason why is because this is a very niched thing. C++ is another great example. Is C++ a future language? Well, from where we are standing today, it's a very strong, powerful language, perfect for games development, that sort of thing. And that makes it also a viable, so if you want to do serious games development, you have to kind of at least know about C++. You have to, it's fairly standard. It's fairly standard to work in C++ when you do that sort of programming. But is that something that makes something future-proof? Now, I will make a statement. Now, this is extremely subjective, and it's all based around one single observation that I have made. And that observation is to look at the top list of the most popular programming languages in general, just off the bat. And these two, in this case, it's two languages that stand out most. These two languages are JavaScript and Java. Now, why in the world would JavaScript and Java be so popular? I mean, they don't really have a community around one specific thing. Well, let's just say that, okay, JavaScript is, it's the language of the browser, so it kind of makes sense that it has a fair amount of popularity. But I want to take a little bit of a different take on it. You see, what I will argue is that when we talk about a good investment for a language or a future-proof or something that is going to stick around for quite a while, we have to consider the one thing that I think a lot of these people who work in these more niche specialized languages are forgetting, and that is that the generic average day programmer does not need the sorts of highly specialized features that you may be excited about. What I will argue is that Java and JavaScript, these sorts of, and C# as well, these languages, these platforms are popular not because they are really good at one thing. They are popular because they can be thrown at almost any problem, and they're good enough at a lot of different things. That's what makes a programming language so powerful. Now, that's what I will argue. Because, and if we then take something like Python, for example. Now Python, if you wanted to do, as I said, if you want to do machine learning, Python is a very good first choice. But the question is that the common use case? I will argue no. If you start a big, large-scale company and you want to work with a technology that's going to be very stable, going to be able to be sustainable, you're going to be able to find a lot of developers, yada, 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 then Java is usually the first choice, followed by C#. And these are stronger use cases than I want to do machine learning. If you want to do a little bit of machine learning, because it's very rare that you create that your entire business is oriented around just machine learning. It's usually there's more to it. Same thing with JavaScript. JavaScript is a very universal, flexible language. It can be used for a lot of things. And there's a big value in that. Because the thing is, guys, it doesn't matter if one thing is the best at something, when another thing is almost as good, but more generic, more universal. That's why we use JavaScript for fucking everything these days. Even when it may not make the most amount of sense, and that there are probably better options out there, because you cannot underestimate the value of having a language that can do the thing that you want to be able to do. It may not do it as well as some other thing, but that other thing is something that you're going to have to go and learn. And for programmers, it's a very nice thing if they can just use the same language over and over and over and be productive immediately. There's a big value in that. Now, this idea that I have, which is that what I'm stating is that I think that the power, like the true popularity when it comes to a language, does not come from one specific use case. It comes from providing a solution that is generic. It's the sort of language you can throw it at absolutely everything. The one thing that I argue that, and this is why Rust makes me so excited, because Rust has the same sort of power, the same sort of flexibility that, say, Java has. Like, you can use Rust for absolutely everything if you wanted to, in the same way you can use Java, with one major benefit on top of it all. It runs directly on the hardware. It doesn't use a garbage collection, and like in a performance situation, it's going to outdo Java. That's why I am excited by Rust. That's why, for me, it's a big gamble. I have no idea if Rust is going to be the next best big thing, but I think so. Because it follows the same, do you see, it follows the same guidelines. This language is not about solving one specific problem. It is about solving all problems in a very efficient manner. That's something that Haskell does not do. That's something that Python does not do. And Ruby and all these other languages, they are good for their use case, but the truly popular, massive super languages that stick around forever are not just good at a few things. They are usually meant to be able to be more generic, to be used for everything. That doesn't make them bad. It's just that from my perspective, betting on something that has that mentality is a safer bet. And to me, that's the big thing that makes it exciting to start doing Rust these days, because being able to have a type system running like at native speed and no problem, like basically having C++ with a lot of extra benefits on top, it's very exciting. And as I said, it follows the same paradigm. You can use it for everything. So what I want you to take away from this is that when I talk about stable or good investments, like good technologies to invest in, I'm talking about technologies that are They're not necessarily tied into one specific field, or they're not associated with one single concept. They are generic solutions to to most forms of programming. And that's, if we look at the most popular platforms, that seems to be the trend for what gets really popular and what sticks around for a really long time. At least that's what I think. Have a great day.